So I started requesting ARCs or advanced reader copies in Feb, and it was the first time I'd ever done that, and it was really cool. So the first ARC that I read this month was called Shadows of Thysia. So the story follows our main character Eleni, who has just lost her grandmother, and so she ends up going back to her grandmother's farm, and the earth ends up swallowing her, and it turns out to be a portal, and she ends up in this whole other different world. And so while she's there, she ends up making 2 blood pacts with 2 different men. So this was a debut fantasy novel that features portal worlds, obviously. You've got some magical weaponry in there, and you've gotta love triangle. So I will say the writing felt a little clunky. The situations and the plot felt very contrived. I would just say that it feels much more 2000s. If you wanted something that's a bit of an easy read, this is probably a book I would say, yeah, sure, like you could give it a try. The next arc that I read in Feb was called Self-Worth. So the story follows our main character, Anna, who recently graduated and she's trying to find a job. Her and her friends are very anti-capitalist, anti-establishment, and it really follows her experience there and then her experience in this sort of whirlwind romance with Lulu. And then all of a sudden Lulu starts throwing up wads of cash. You kind of see this evolution and this change of her life, all of this while her boyfriend's health is just declining. It really focuses on how coming into this sudden wealth can change your very ideologies, your very beliefs, your morals, your values. I think the characters were done really well. Anna was quite unlikable, but you also empathize with her. You kind of understand what she's going through. I would highly recommend this book if you just like good satire books. The last arc that I read was called Aicha. So the story follows Aicha, a main character, and her family and her love interest Rachid as they prepare for a siege that is led by the Sultan to free them from the Portuguese colonizers in their little town in Morocco. And as we get closer to the siege, we kind of see that there's something quite violent and quite sinister simmering under Aicha's surface. This book focused a lot more on the place that they lived in, on really setting up the culture. I think that came at the expense of character development and story progression. We really didn't get to the plot until the last 100 pages of the book or so. And this is like a 300+ page book. It sort of felt like I was pulling teeth just trying to get to the plot of the story, which when you read the synopsis, it's very clear that the plot of the story features this supernatural entity that lives within her, but you really only start finding out about it again in about the last 100 pages or so. But I thought the ending was done really well. I just wish that we had had the energy of the ending all throughout the book.